Greetings from Beyond Korean Films again. I'm going to show you a Korean horror crime. The Call is a 2020 mystery movie. Warning, spoilers. Be careful and watch out. When Seo-yeon gets to the village, she lived with Sung-ho when she was a young girl. Takes her to her home by picking her up. Due to her mother's severe illness, on the trip there, he inquires as to whether the young lady saw her in the medical facility. She chose not to respond after realizing that at the station, she misplaced her phone, and that is a concern for her. When she first enters the house, she locates and plugs in a cordless phone. The phone rings a little later, and Seo-yeon hears the voice of a lady, misplacing her for another person, claiming her mother is insane. When she discovers that her number is incorrect, the woman ends the call. Seo-yeon goes to her mother's house later that day. The physician informs her that she has a tumor in her brain that can be operated on, but the process is really challenging, and she must be taken to an expert. She sits in her mother's hospital room with her. After some time, the woman informs Seo-yeon that she must start making the preparations for her funeral. When her mother reveals, Seo-yeon becomes extremely agitated. Teo inquire as to whether she might be buried alongside or after her father, causing her to hurriedly leave the room. Next, she goes to her father's tomb, where it says he passed away in 1999. When Seo-yeon returns home, the enigmatic phone call also comes back. She understands that the caller is claiming to be calling from her own home. Seo-yeon is awakened that night by a loud go to investigate after hearing a clatter in the house. And realizes it was only a picture that had slipped off its post. When she tries to hang it up once more, she finds that it is suspended from a phony wall, concealing the presence of a completely distinct space. Once she dismantles the wall, she enters using a flashlight to search the room and discovers a box packed with many items, such as a girl's diary. A picture of the girl appears as she pages through it, falls out of it. Seo-yeon then shows Sung-ho the picture, and he claims that Young-suk is the one. Her stepmother once owned the mansion, while a shaman, perhaps. He tells her the bare minimum and then acts as though he has no more recollection of it at that moment. Seo-yeon discovers that the picture was taken in 1999, and her enigmatic the caller has been requesting. She receives a second call that evening from the woman shouting wildly on the other side till she's pulled from the phone. Be why her stepmother. They resist while the mother tries to burn her and start a fire in the room Seo-yeon found. Earlier, Seo-yeon approaches the gap she created in the wall and observes flames crackling and smoke up the stairs. After a while, the phone rings once again, and Seo-yeon informs the woman that she is aware of Young-suk and the fact that she located her picture starting on November 26, 1999. According to Young-suk, it's only the 18th. Therefore, a section from Seo-yeon's journal is read. Of the day before. She reviews her writing, and after she affirms herself, Young-suk becomes frightened. Seo-yeon, conscious that it may seem improbable, informs her of her theory regarding the situation, is that they both reside in the same residence, however, at a different moment. She locates a newspaper to further support her theory. November 18th article. Young-suk eats dinner with her mother, and the woman says she will be threatened if she doesn't eat, and she'll return to the institution. She then starts to stuff her face. Having angered her mother, she informs Seo-yeon about the plane crash. Once more, Seo-yeon tells Young-suk that the two women have a connection. Regarding the future, much like her favorite performer re-entering the music industry and introducing new technology that in 1999 still seems ridiculous. When she is informed by Young-suk that her biological lady torturing mom after her death, Seo-yeon explains to her how her father passed away. Their home caught fire while she was young since her mother neglected to switch off the gas, and the fire claimed her father's life. When Seo-yeon and her family arrived on November 21, 1999, reached Young-suk's residence to have a peek at it, considering purchasing it. As of right now, her father remains alive. As young Seo-yeon dashes upstairs, they discover her stepmother opening the room, Young-suk the doorway. As Young-suk shows up at the door and understands, she calls the elderly Seo-yeon to identify the individuals once more and permits her to hear her father's speech. For Seo-yeon, it's a really poignant moment who 20 years have passed since he last spoke. Young-suk devises the plan to save herself, saved her father from the flames, who is meant to die. Young-suk escapes the house without her stepmother being aware of it and visits the residence where Seo-yeon resides. Prior to their movement, while her mother watches TV, having lunch while doing her nails, on the stove, cooking. Later, younger Seo-yeon's the mother depart from the residence while Seo-yeon toys with her Father. Young Suk takes the key. She enters the house and turns the gas knob off. Returning to the present, Seo Yun's mobile is once again in her custody, along with the burn scar on her leg vanishes. All of a sudden, her house starts to transform, in addition to her room and herself. Seo Yun descends the stairs and exits when she spots a stunning glasshouse garden. She notices her mother as soon as she walks in, and then her father arrives. Seo Yun breaks down in tears upon seeing him and confuses both of them by hugging him in front of her parents. She thanks Young Suk over the phone later. Time is spent with both parents by Seo Yun. Then plays some new songs for Young Suk. The telephone. Over time, they continue to communicate and continue to approach, until Seo Yun is unable to speak on the phone since she's interacting with her parents. Young Suk becomes irate and keeps phoning her when she fails to return her call. When they eventually resume talking, it turns into it's clear that Young Suk is ill. Over the phone, Seo Yun hears screaming and then the voice of Young Suk's stepmother, stating she should avoid her or risk being harmed. Young Suk's stepmother used to perform an exorcism on her, believing she was capable of assisting her in this way, as the young lady continued to plead for her to stop. After flogging her, the stepmother chants over her weeping face while Young Suk expresses regret, wishing that she would quit. Seo Yun is currently unable to control herself from looking up Young Suk on the internet. When she fails to locate her on social media, she reads a news article and looks up her address. News on Young Suk's premature passing during her stepmother had carried out an exorcism on her. Seo Yun informs her when Young Suk calls that she believes she will pass away that evening. From the aquarium, her stepmother retrieves a knife and ascends to her chamber. She flings up the knife, winces, and starts piercing the bed, where she believes Young Suk is dozing off. But the woman isn't in bed, what the stepmother learns with horror. After making fun of her, Young Suk lights the fire extinguisher to render her unconscious. In the dimly lit room, she locates the knife and confronts after obtaining a taste for blood. She murders her stepmother. She summons Seo Yun next, who waits anxiously on the phone and calms down when Young Suk assures her that everything is well. She adds that she feels like a new person. Finally, Young Suk appears in the following image, happy that she's been outside the house released. She starts by giving herself a dinner that she truly likes. She purchases new clothing for herself. Presently, Seo Yun greets Sunghas as he enters the family's house to deliver their strawberries. Everyone is expressing gratitude and excitement over the fruit. He delivers something else to the house previously, but now Young Suk opens the doorway. She is pleased with her new attire and appearance, invites Sung-ho inside after sending them off. When Sung-ho inquires about her mother, she merely wants to find out which of her new items he prefers, and keeps him alone in the den while she runs off to locate additional items she purchased. Sung-ho, meantime, heads to the kitchen when he discovers a stack of black plastic bags that smell bad within the refrigerator. He pushes one aside to accommodate the fruit. He lets it fall to the ground, and when he picks the sack up, he discovers it's loaded with bodily components. Young Suk discovers Sung-ho freaking out, him in the other costume in the basement. She desired to demonstrate to him. He opens the bag and vanishes, which infuriates her, to retrieve the fire extinguisher from another room, while the man in the kitchen sits foolishly. Back in the present, however, Seo Yun-he and his family are enjoying some tea. Small dog, engaging in pleasant conversation, and consuming a few of the strawberries. When the phone rings, Seo Yun answers it from her chamber. She hears the same sobbing of Sung-ho over Young Suk curses over the phone that she's damaged her new clothes. The phone abruptly cuts off. Seo Yun feels uneasy with the exchange, and upon returning downstairs, she notices that Sung-ho is no longer present. Actually, he never showed up, and her parents have never heard of him at all. She checked the refrigerator just in case, proceeded to his strawberry farm, but to discover it barren. At the police station, Seo Yun visits the village and inquires of the policeman whether they get to know him. Although the younger policeman had never before heard of him or his strawberry farm, the older one did. He queries Seo Yun about the reason for her request for someone who passed away 20 years ago, and the question startles her. The policeman leads her to the rear and demonstrates to her his crime notes, in which it is mentioned that Young Suk killed him in front of her house. In the past, the police had visited Young Suk as well, asking questions regarding Sung-ho, prior to they were aware that she was responsible for his murder. She makes an effort to pretend she doesn't recognize him, But one of the police officers, who is the older one with whom Seo-yeon later spoke, observes the differences in her responses. According to Young-suk, she doesn't know him, and that her mother isn't present to inform them if the officer observes that she has seen him deliver strawberries inside the house. Once more, she tells lies to hide her identity, but the police officer can tell she's lying and makes her anxious by taking a few notes. But the policeman, even despite suspicion, leaves her home. Finally, older Seo-yeon approaches Sun-hee for a conversation, the store owner, to inquire about what precisely Young-suk and her stepmother experienced this. She is informed by Sun-hee that she believed Young-suk was an orderly girl who would pay attention. To listen to her spend hours discussing her hubby. She would occasionally smuggle cookies into her room, till she severely injured her one day. Without Young-suk's stepmother, Sun-hee would have passed away. Later, as Seo-yeon is thawing, Young-suk phones her, takes the body part out of her refrigerator. Seo-yeon answers and asks her right away if Sung-ho was killed. Seo-yeon reads the lies that Young-suk tells her. A headline in the newspaper about the day she was detained as a serial killer by the authorities and given a life sentence. It doesn't sound like a life sentence to drop the act. Young-suk makes it so Seo-yeon could see that she killed the farmer. Then, Young-suk starts interrogating Seo-yeon, how the authorities discovered that she had committed the offense and informed her that she will require must learn how that occurred so she could avoid being captured herself. She will never forget what she did to Seo-yeon for her and becomes furious when Seo-yeon continues to ring her. The two women's responses to the entire circumstance, one is crying and afraid, unable to take any action on her end, but the other is vindictive and furious, calling Seo-yeon's number repeatedly. The police officer continued to look into Young-suk in 1999, given her mental health issues and problems. Later, Young-suk heard a knock on the door. It was young Seo-yeon along with her father. Young-suk is informed by him that they are looking for her stepmother, with whom she was scheduled to meet a while back. They were at the realtor's office. According to Young-suk, she must have slept off, and asked them to come inside to wait for her. In the future, Seo-yeon will be with her father. Seeing that she's anxious, he asks her about it, but she claims to be all right. Her father forces her to drive after stopping the vehicle, for him to lift her spirits. He advises her to exercise more gentleness using the pedal, allowing her to stop she won't spill the coffee in the automobile. With his guidance, Seo-yeon does that successfully. In the past, Young-suk is preparing. One of the strawberries is being consumed by the young girl. When she notices Young-suk coming and dousing the fire extinguisher is her dad's. Seo-yeon enters a tunnel in the present as she notices her father gradually disappearing before her eyes, as well as that rendition of the future vanishes with the shattered glass. Cut to a young, frightened Seo-yeon who supports away from the picture of her father's blood for Young-suk to murder him. In the tunnel, the elder version of herself awakens, without her father. Young-suk goes up to the smaller version of Seo-yeon and informs her of her father's passing is it her fault because she didn't answer the phone. Seo-yeon now dashes back to the house, discovering it in a terrible condition and observing the text Seo-yeon answer the phone, on the floor in blood. The phone does indeed ring, and she does not hesitate before picking it up. Young-suk teases her about how she killed her father, which infuriates Seo-yeon, threatening to murder her. However, there is one issue. While Seo-yeon Young-suk is beyond reach, she has the younger a picture showing her fastened to a chair, creating is the one in control of the circumstance. She is told she has an hour by Young-suk to learn how she will be arrested by the cops, otherwise she will also harm her mother. Seo-yeon devises a plan to eliminate Young-suk and simultaneously save her younger self. She leads her to a gasoline station, telling Young-suk that the man who discovered the knife with her bloody fingerprints on it will be there. She waits for it to happen on her phone, but Young-suk manages to save her hide once more. She leaves the building before it explodes. When she later calls Seo-yeon again, it is clear that she is upset with her, and burns her younger self with hot water. Scars also appear on Seo-yeon's body in the present. The fact that she played Seo-yeon makes matters worse. Additionally, Young-suk accused her of being the one at fault behind her father's death. Her mother may have previously turned off the gas before she left the house that day, and it was Seo-yeon who unintentionally turned it back on, thinking she was doing the right thing. Seo-yeon sees no other option at this time. She thus goes inside the police station to pick up her file. She reads the police officer's journal and learns how they finally caught her, sending Young-suk to the right place this time. Young-suk locates the man after learning her prints were on the knife. After getting rid of it, she also used it to kill him. The information vanishes from the journal, and the house begins to change again as all of the information on Young-suk abruptly disappears. However, new information about her mother's search for Seo-yeon at the local police station has surfaced. Seo-yeon observes the events as they happen, play by play. Previously, in the officer's notebook, her mother and the officer went to the address to inquire. Young-suk claimed that they had left the house, but Seo-yeon's mother found out about her hair bow. She asks the officer to examine the house, but nothing is found on the floor. Even though Seo-yeon leaves the house, as it is changing, she goes back inside after finding out that her mother and the policeman went to see Young-suk. In the house, she discovers that Young-suk has been particularly successful as a serial killer. She finds the phone when she goes down into the area she found at the beginning of the film. In the past, Seo-yeon's mother thought that she should contact her husband's phone to make sure he was there, using the house phone. Seo-yeon, in the future, receives the call instead of her husband. On the phone, she yells at her mother to leave the house. Seo-yeon is struck over simultaneously by Young-suk. The officer has been killed by Young-suk before, in front of her mother, and asks for the phone. The women struggle for the phone. On the other hand, Seo-yeon grabs the phone and knocks Young-suk out. Both the past and the present are experiencing a continuous pursuit. Currently, while Young-suk is pursuing Seo-yeon, she is also pursuing her mother in the past. They both hide in the same room. A lunatic raps on the door. Suddenly, the phone rings, and it's Seo-yeon. Seo-yeon from the future tells mom to calm down and find a weapon after she calls the police. The woman finds and pulls out a fire extinguisher and waits for Young-suk to open the door while holding the safety pin. Unfortunately, the Young-suk from earlier has a clever scheme to get the mother out by putting her child in front of the room and asking her to do just that. Young-suk tries to stab her with a dagger. Young-suk clutches the knife as she struggles before stabbing her mother in the side. Approaching Seo-yeon's room is the elder self. In the future, as elder Young-suk tries to break in, Seo-yeon looks at the blood on the wall from the fight. Finally, Seo-yeon and Young-suk are face-to-face in both the past and the future, and in both timelines, Seo-yeon is waiting to be stabbed by a psycho-killer in the future. When Seo-yeon opened her eyes, her killer was nowhere to be found. In the past, she couldn't hit the child, as Seo-yeon's mother confronts her, and the two of them fall over the rail. After Young-suk's past incarnation vanishes, Seo-yeon finds herself in a desolate house by herself in the future. Later, thinking her mother has also died, the future Seo-yeon dashes to the graves. But the woman also shows up there, smiling and asking her why she's sobbing. The fact that her mother is still alive makes Seo-yeon happy, and finds out that she's very amazing.